Hello and welcome to Theology Matters. This is Dr. John Clark. And today we want to continue our conversation with Pastor Carl Greene. Pastor Carl Greene is the pastor emeritus of Grace Community Fellowship in Noonan, Georgia. And I have the privilege of working with Carl here on our pastoral staff. And so, Carl, welcome again. We look forward to continuing this conversation with you.
Yeah, good to be back.
So last time we spoke largely really about your background and just kind of how you got saved, a little bit about your first teaching opportunities, public speaking in general. And this time I wanted to kind of build off of that. I wanted to just ask you if you could just walk us through really your ministry progression after you left Florida Bible College. Kind of where did the Lord lead you and how did you end up at Grace Community Fellowship where you've spent uh, over 40 years now?
Yes, when I was a senior at Florida Bible College, I became engaged and became a man within a week, I jokingly said, because I finished classes on Friday, was graduated on Saturday, was ordained Sunday evening, loaded my car along with my fiance, and we came to Atlanta, planned our wedding within a week, and got married the next week. And so that was a life-changing event. Worked in construction for a few weeks to save some money, loaded our trailer and went to Dallas, well, outside of Dallas, to Richardson, Texas, because I'd been invited while I was a senior to lead a youth group called Youth Ranch in North Atlanta. So we called it North Atlanta Youth Ranch. So we did that for close to 3 years. Our first child was born, and during the summer of that year before my first daughter was born, we received an invitation from uh, two friends that were pastor and associate pastor in Sandy Springs, Georgia, Sandy Springs Community Church. They wanted someone to take over the youth ministry, while my good friend Jack became associate pastor to the pastor of the church, Bob Becknell. And so, interestingly, a little side note, Jack was the one who was in the high school class that invited me to the youth ranch where I gained assurance. And so he's been a lifelong friend.
Mm.
And he eventually took my place. I'll explain that. But to make it brief, we were there for close to 3 years and moved to Sandy Springs to take over the youth ministry there. Was there probably about a year and a half because all along I had wanted to be in pastoral ministry, not youth ministry. I didn't feel really a good fit for youth ministry. And so as we were praying about it, thinking about it, uh, uh, I have a sister and brother-in-law in Albany, Georgia. They asked us, considered coming there to plant a church. So I went there with that in mind, and we tried, and it didn't work.
Mm.
So I worked with a little brethren church, and they were very gracious, invited me I would preach occasionally, teach classes occasionally, and they were very, very good. I was bivocational, helping manage a florist shop in town, and was there for a little over 3 years and received an invitation from Buford Adams, who had started a church. He had been the one that was the youth leader in the youth ranch where I came to know the Lord. He became pastor of a church that had grown to probably 1,200, and he had invited me to come and be on staff there. And I did that, became associate pastor, and covered a lot of different areas, but basically new members, follow up on visitors, hospital visitation, overseeing small groups. Did that for 5 years. And then a group from here in Noonan, Pastoral Search Committee for Grace Community Fellowship, came to the pastor there at the church, Clayton Community, talked to Buford, and he gave them my name along with two others. Uh, they contacted me, we had an interview, and they invited me to come and visit them for a Christmas get together they had, and then invited me back to preach. And over a period of about 3 to 5 months, we prayed about it, they prayed about it, and we started here in January of 1984. And so that's a thumbnail of a lot of years.
That is. Yeah, great. Great summary. 1984, the church here was started in 82, I think.
82. When I came, they were meeting in the Shenandoah Activities Building. It had a skating rink and tennis courts and so on. And we met in a room we rented there. And church was about a year and a half old and had about 25 people.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Well, good summary, Carl, of your ministry background. I really appreciate that. I want to move forward in some questions and just talking through in case there are young men who are ministry minded in their 20s at this point. I want to just kind of glean some wisdom from you or some thoughts from you regarding, first of all, if if you were aware of a 22, 25-year-old young man who had a desire to serve in pastoral ministry one day, what would you describe as the ideal track or the steps hypothetically that he should take, what the process would look like, et cetera? Any thoughts on that? I know that's kind of a broad question, but
Yeah.
wherever you want to take that would be great.
Uh, well, I don't know that this would be the ideal track because the Lord uses so many different ones, but my personal thoughts are both from experience uh, from me when I entered ministry, as well as what I've seen over the years and what I've seen you do. Uh, First, I would counsel preparation of the heart, uh, personal study and reading, and much, much prayer. You're developing your own personal walk with the Lord because that's fundamental to everything. If you don't have that as a core and as a foundation, then it can become a job, it can become a burden, uh, it, it can get dry pretty quickly. So much emphasis on that. Secondly, personally sharing the gospel with people and uh, just putting yourself out there to meet people, to share the gospel, to follow up with them, to help disciple those that may trust the Lord. All that on a personal level, and then again on a personal level, start finding ways to volunteer for ministries and of all kinds, working with children, with youth, with adults. If they're mission trips, short-term mission trips, if you can take those and keeping the door open. If you really are saying, Lord, here am I, use me, then to be open to ministry outside the United States, outside of what might be your comfort zone and all that, to help explore your gifts and interests and help hone in on what the Lord has really gifted you to do. And then along the way, seeking wise counsel. Uh, Proverbs says, in the multitude of counselors, there's safety, a multitude of wise counsel, obviously, because it's the book of wisdom. And within that, you might have a broad spectrum of counsel, but seeking someone who could mentor, help you apprentice. I didn't have as much of that. I've seen you do that and do it very effectively. Though I have not done that as specifically as you have, I've done it some and wish it perhaps it had been done more with me. And then uh, began to take courses online. We have the availability that I did not have in my day early on of online courses and began to expose yourself to the rigors of study and preparation and uh, assignments and reading broadly, to read in theology for sure, but in other areas, because I think reading helps expand your thinking and your ability to write. I would suggest journaling. That's something I wish I had started doing early on because it gives you can go back and see how the Lord has used you, how He's answered prayer, how life has changed, the challenges, the heartaches. Um, and it just gives you kind of a history. And I think in doing that, it also helps begin to develop writing skills. And then at that point, I would say, then you might look at going to a Bible college or seminary and consider, an on-campus experience. uh, I would think by that time you'd have a better idea. Now, I did not go through that process, but I can see the value of it.
Well, even as you're walking through that process, in your steps, Bible verses were popping in my mind, and it's like this preparation of heart. And you see in the pastoral epistles, Paul emphasizing to both Timothy and Titus to maintain a clear or a pure conscience.
You're right.
I think fits right there. Paul tells Timothy in terms of personally sharing the gospel to do the work of an evangelist. And so,
Right.
yeah, just kind of as you're walking through, it's like, it's just a very good structure there because, many people, we all do things like this where we're more interested in the title than the work. And what I hear you
Yes.
saying is, part of getting ready, quote unquote, for full-time ministry is allowing the Lord to develop his servant. And that's a one-on-one personal, vibrant fellowship with the Lord. So, I mean, that's got to be in place before any kind of ministry can take place in general.
Yeah. Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. So very good. Those are great recommendations. And Carl, I'm just going to build off of something you said, and it's more like just want to get your opinion. You made a great comment. I mean, we have seminaries, school in general. I mean, college is the same, university, secular university is the same. There's so much education that people can get online while they stay home versus moving across the country, which is generally the only option. We had even in my
Yeah.
generation, online schooling was a little new. I got to do that for my master's degree, but it was kind of edgy. It was like cutting edge almost at that time,
Right. Yeah.
where everyone in the past had to go to seminary, had to be on campus and things. Um, you've done a little bit of both because I know you've done some higher education learning online, but you were also obviously moved to Florida to go to Florida Bible College. Could you compare and contrast what you think the benefits of both might be, and maybe the downfalls of both? Or I know I'm kind of springing that question on you, but do you have any
Yeah.
thoughts on that you could share?
Yeah. Briefly, I would say this. I needed that when I was a young man.
The
I
in
just
person?
in person on campus because of the discipline of it. I was not a good student in high school. I
Hmm.
was an honor student in college, but I barely made it out of high school because I did not like school. I did not want to be there. I wanted to work. I wanted to support my car. So, but seriously speaking, I did help support my family because we were in some difficult financial situations. And so I just didn't like study in high school, but college taught me the discipline of study and the in-person and the environment. I think I needed that. Uh, but at that time, there was no online study available. I think I would have learned it because I had the passion and the desire, but I think it would have been much more difficult.
Hmm.
So I would say that some people are more suited for that. And so now, when I went through my master's study, which was much later after my first wife passed away, I did online courses and I did fine. I benefited from it. But then, along with those online courses, I was on campus. Now, this was at Toccoa Falls Graduate School. And, and it was primarily designed for people that were active in ministry.
Hmm.
And so there was a rich experience of rooming with some of these guys and interacting with them and learning their experience. There was a variety of backgrounds. The interaction and the practical study in the classroom, along with the practicums and the assignments we had uh, between the personal classes and online classes. That together, I just think was a great benefit. So I would not say it's an either or.
Okay.
I would say it's a both and I think it would be unique to the individual as far as how much of each.
I gotcha. I gotcha. And so I've actually just got one really quick follow-up question, and I know I'm going to try to put you in the box, but I know you're not going to let me put you in a box, and that's okay. If you just looking back over your experience, you've seen people succeed in ministry. In other words, just continue to walk with the Lord and finish strong. I know you've probably seen people who have started out well and who have flamed out. You've seen people come into ministry young, you've seen people come into ministry old. If you had to pick an ideal age, life experience for someone to come into pastoral ministry, does anything jump out to your mind? I'm just kind of curious. I know when you're 20, you're 21, you're 22. I mean, you're raring to go. You want to jump right
Yeah.
in, and sometimes it seems like the Lord slows the process down and doesn't allow you to do or have opportunities. And then some 22-year-olds are right in it, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, any thoughts on that as we close up?
Yeah, briefly, I would say around the age 30. Get some experience early on as an associate staff. Um, Perhaps if the Lord's directing you to be married, maybe you'd have a child at the time, but you'd have some gravitas early on. Uh, but that's not, the Lord uses all kinds. Timothy evidently started early on, very young man, was not married, perhaps. So, um, but then you got the Levitical priests, they didn't start till, 20 and then 30 for the 20 for Levites, I think 30 for the priest. I think that's correct. So I don't know. There's no biblical standard. So however the Lord opens the door, but I would say around 30.
Okay, excellent. All right, and we'll spend more time with Pastor Carl in the next session.